In this video, I'm going to show you how to create a flat panel of any size on a circular knitting machine. And once you can do this, then you can move on to more intermediate projects like sweaters and cables. Before we get into the tutorial, I'll explain some basic mechanics of how the machine works, and we will take a brief look inside the machine. If you'd rather just jump straight to the step-by-step tutorial, I'll pop a timestamp on the screen and I'll do some chapters below. So we crank this handle to make the machine spin. We can turn the handle both ways to go backwards and forwards. That's key for the flat panel. Inside the machine there's a little hill that raises and lowers the needles. Each needle follows the next. When working on a flat panel, we can't use all the needles on the machine. We need to have space to turn around. The process is the same regardless of what brand you are using. So to figure out how many needles we need to turn around, we put needle 1 into its downhill position after the yarn guide and see which needles are raised, and then just make a note not to use those needles. For this machine, it requires 3 needles worth of space to make the turn. You may even want to add 1 extra for security. There is a switch here on the side of the machine to change the machine from tubular to flat panel. Let's take a look at what happens when we flip that switch. So here we are inside the machine again, and we can see when I flip the switch, it stops you making a full circle and forces you to turn and put the machine in the opposite direction. This is helpful if you plan on making a flat panel of exactly the number of needles you have on the machine, but it's pretty useless for any other size panel. So for that reason, I never use it, and my machine always just stays in tubular mode. With the method I am about to show you, you can knit flat panels of any width, from 2 stitches all the way up to the maximum that your machine will allow. And you can also start at any part on the machine. You don't need to start at needle 1, which is good if you tend to make a lot of flat panels. You're not going to wear down just one part of the machine, but that's up to you where you want to start. If starting at 1 makes it easier for you to keep track, you can do that as well. It's also worth mentioning that the counter on your machine will not be accurate when you're knitting a flat panel. So you might want to have a pen and paper handy, or buy yourself a row counter like this one, where you can just pop it on your finger and click a little button to count up your rows. If anyone is interested in a more in-depth look at how this machine does what it does, please comment below and I'll make a more full, in-depth technical tutorial. I know that might not be for everyone. So let's jump into the step-by-step tutorial on how to make a flat panel. For this tutorial, I'm just going to use the standard in front and behind cast on, and I'm going to cast on 10 stitches. If you want to see different types of cast on, I'll pop a video in the cards and in the description box. And once I've cast on my 10 stitches, I'm just going to add my working yarn and crank the handle to raise needle number 10. Slide the yarn into the guide, leaving the tail in the middle of the machine, and then put the yarn into the tension guide. And then we're going to crank the handle in the other direction to go back the way we came. And I'm looking out for needle number 1. It's usually a different colour, but like I said, you could be working at any part of this machine, so just keep a lookout for where you started. Or you can always add a little bit of masking tape or a sticker onto the pin where you need to stop. That's always a good little tip as well. So we need to make sure that needle number 1, or wherever the needle is that we started, sinks all the way down. Needles 48 to 46 on my machine will rise, but we don't need to worry about that because we're not going to use them. So once needle 1 is fully down, we crank just a little more, just until the yarn drops below this little nubbin here. That way the yarn has something to guide it back onto the needle for the next row. And then we're just going to work our way back the other way. So we're going to crank the handle the other way and go all the way to the other end. And again, it's the same process when we get there. We're going to get the needle all the way down, then a little bit more, just the yarn wraps around the nubbin, and then we're going to come back the way we came. At the ends of each rows, you really need to sort of pay attention, because it's not being weighted down by stitches on other sides. You might need to manually push the stitch down on each side, and also because there's only tension on one side, you might also want to hold on to the yarn when you're doing the final stitch, and also give it a little tug at the end. These are all optional things, but that's what I found works best for me. But have a go, see how much you need to tug, see if you want to hold on to it, see what happens if you do none of that and you just go back and forwards. It might be different with different yarns as well, but experiment with it, have some fun. And like I said, once you've mastered the flat panel, that's when you can start moving on to more advanced things like cables and sweaters. That is more what I sort of want my channel to be about, more advanced things. But I have been getting a lot of requests to do a bit more beginner stuff. So I hope this was helpful. If you do have any more problems with flat panel knitting, please pop questions down below. I'm happy to do another follow-up video, or we can chat in the comments, that's fine. So again, I hope that was helpful. Thank you very much. Please give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.